And he swings, hits it high and deep and gone. Still going back. Oh! Out of here. Welcome to the big leagues.
Deep to center field, and it is gone.
Wow, his first big league swing is going to be a grand slam, a home run. Swing and drive. Mountain right. Welcome to the show.
Welcome back to the Call Up, your go-to podcast on the future stars in Major League Baseball. I'm Aram Layton. He's Jack McMullen. And we've got promotions to talk about, and we've got draft assignments. I guess that kind of goes in with the promotion side. A lot of the recent top draft picks are balling out early going here. That comes with the territory because usually they're not challenged that much. But high school guy raking at the complex, always a great sign. College guy putting up numbers in high A, always a great sign. Plenty of that going on. But Jack, we've got a handful of promotions to talk about, notable promotions, and we'll use that as an opportunity to also kind of check in on these guys and see how they're doing and, maybe why they were promoted.
Notice why they come or when they come. This is right after the trade deadline. So what I love about sellers markets is, okay, not only do you have to move your big prospects, but you have to move more. And these guys will, think about a buyer. Buyers send prospects to go improve the big league team. What does that do for the minor leagues? That sends a guy that may be performing really well at high A to double because there was a vacancy at triple because that guy got traded. Mm-hmm. So everybody pushes up a level. So you get that opening for a promotion. Promotions are really hard to come by, especially when you have full health at the major league level. Yeah. A healthy big league team, you're really not going to see much movement at all until something happens. Mm-hmm. And this just kind of kickstarts that. Now, for a seller, you grab all these prospects, and unfortunately for those current minor leaguers in that system, they may become blocked by guys that weren't in the organization 24, 48 hours ago. Yeah. But we do get to watch these guys in new pastures with this, I guess, reinvigoration for the game of baseball and a chance to almost, prove themselves again. So I think the deadline is awesome for us, just as enjoyers of minor league baseball.
Yeah, of course. And then you also have the third option, which is the blue chip prospects who get pushed up and everybody else gets the hell out of the way, like Ethan Salas, and some of the others that we're going to talk about. But yeah, that's the fun part. Is I also feel like you're at the part of the year now here where guys performing at a level that, he's been at for most of the year, and you want to challenge them to get an idea of, one, what they need to work on going into next year, and two, whether they're really ready for that level. So it gets you some feedback. We're kind of coming down to the final stretch here of the minor league season. And, you want to know if this guy's ready for that level. If not, it's some feedback going into the offseason. So a lot of times you'll see, players maybe even a little bit later over the last couple of weeks of the season get that, little taste of the next level as well. So we'll probably have like one more round of very late promotions. Also, you'll see like AA, AAA goes longer than the lower levels. So there's some young players that they want more reps towards, like a Jackson Chourio last year reaching AA was crazy, but they wanted him to get more ABs and challenge him. That was cool. He was able to do that. So
real quick.
Yeah.
Do you think they do it? Do you think they send Chourio to Nashville?
Yes, I do. I
think so too.
I do. I do think they'll send Chourio to Nashville at the end of the year.
That's amazing.
19. It'll be 19 in Nashville. And then it'll be 19 again in Nashville at the start of next year, which is just absurd. But the way he's playing, it looks like he could handle it with the way he's swinging it right now. We'll start with Ethan Salas, right? We talked about him on the Just Baseball show a little bit. I'm kind of surprised by this promotion, right? Padres 17-year-old prospect just turned 17. I thought the low A assignment was already like, wow, this is amazing at 16 years old and now 17. He's put up great numbers overall, even despite the slump that he's in. But you got him slashing. I believe this would include some of the complex, or no, he didn't even go to the complex. So this would just be low A, 267, 350, 487 slash line. That's an 837 OPS, Jack. 26% K rate, 11% walk rate, 9 homers as well. The swing looks fantastic. He looks really good. The approach has been really impressive. The glove, like you see the tools of a guy that's going to probably stick back there, or definitely has a good chance to stick back there. But I also don't think he's like this 60 grade immediately defender that everyone's like, wow, like the glove needs some work. And understandably, he's 17 playing full season minor league baseball. But that's kind of why I was surprised to see the high A promotion, because it comes as he's 0 for his last 16. And also, with the defense in a work in progress. This is a top 25 prospect in baseball just off of his polish and, how advanced he is for his age and what he's already able to do in the projection. But this was an interesting one to send him to Fort Wayne, which is also a graveyard, by the way.
Yeah, it's a great place, though. I love it. And I know that organization is going to, take him in with open arms. 121 WRC plus. And I want to look at WRC plus here because Lake Elsinore is, ball starts flying. It feels very zero gravity. And this is inland Southern California. The fact that he was putting up a 121, even in this slump, is utterly insane. This guy's a young 17, like you mentioned. So while Fort Wayne, those offensive numbers may dissipate, you didn't see the best version of Jackson Merrill in Fort Wayne. But I think what Fort Wayne and what high A can allow Salas to do is be in a really comfortable situation. I'm going to make it human for a minute. My year, I guess I had a lease in Fort Wayne for 2 years. So like my 2 years living in Fort Wayne, that place is so freaking navigable. And like, you don't have to worry about anything if you play for the Fort Wayne Tin Caps. Like he's probably either living out of a hotel, which is connected to the outfield of the ballpark, or he's living in a complex with 20 other guys on that roster.
Yeah.
He's going to be like, he doesn't need to be babysat, but he can be if he wants to.
That's an excellent point. And for those who don't know, like context wise, you called games for how long? Were you 2 seasons in Fort Wayne?
So I was 2020. I moved there March of 2020. Minor league ball didn't happen. I was there 2021.
Okay.
Like that place, I cannot say enough good things about the setup in Fort Wayne, and that ballpark, Parkview Field is amazing. And if you're on a minor league ballpark tour, I highly recommend that. The facilities are top of the line for high A. Like this guy is not going to be in obscurity. He's entering an excellent situation.
I think that's a really good point, Jack, in context that, just people would not be able to have. You're just looking at levels and that's all you can see. But I think of Edgar Caro, who obviously older, but at 19 years old, skips over high A, goes from low A straight to double because the Angels at the time, like the coaching staff and like the situation for him there. Could be something very similar here. And Salas, you got to treat it differently. Like, let's be real. He might not need to be babysat. I think he's a very mature kid from everything we've seen, but he's 17 years old in professional baseball. He's going to need certain kind of just, I think, accommodations and just coaching and aspects to his professional career here that you don't really see because he is a wonderkin. Like, this is crazy stuff. So if for whatever reason, Fort Wayne is a better spot for him, whether it's coaching wise, whether, they just also want to get him comfortable there because he's going to probably be there all of next year. There's a lot of reasons why it makes sense. And I think most of them are beyond the baseball side of it. Like the statistical, you look at the data, you look at the numbers, you look at where he's at as a prospect. It's kind of aside from that. And here's the thing, when it comes to player development, that's usually the more important thing is the beyond the box score, what's going on mentally, especially with a prized blue chip teenage prospect like a Ethan Salas. So yeah, I would take the struggles. He might not struggle. Who knows? This guy keeps defying what we think is possible. But if he struggles, take it with a grain of salt, because I think he's there for a lot of other reasons to, specifically work on the defense, to work with, more advanced pitching, to be in a more comfortable situation overall and be in a better spot for his long-term development. So if he goes there and he Ks 35% of the time, who cares?
Yeah. He's 17 years old.
Yeah.
Are the Padres one of the 3 or 5 best organizations in baseball developing, like identifying and developing?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about what we saw.
I think they're really underrated for sure.
It was 53 weeks ago, a year and a week ago, that they traded Wood, Hassel, Gore, Abrams, Susana, and Luke Voigt. Don't forget about Luke Voigt. They traded him for Soto and Josh Bell. The fact that they already have 3 consensus top 100 guys and 2 top 25 guys in Merrill, Salas, and Robbie Snelling is utterly insane.
Yep. 100%. And all of a sudden you got Samuel Zavala swinging it again. Now he looks like a borderline top 100 guy. You've got other guys that are really throwing the ball well through that system. It's amazing. And I think part of that is the development side, like you said. And then the other part is the scouting, which AJ Preller we know is fantastic at. And you'll get some of the guys they've traded out that are now thriving in other situations because again, the Padres ID'd him. Like Owen Casey looks like that. If they kept him, that's a guy that I think would be on the same track, if not better. And, he looks like a top 50 prospect in baseball. We'll talk about him at the end because I want to gush about Owen Casey with the Cubs. He was part of that Darvish deal. So, okay, you got Darvish. That's cool. But again, like that was a second round pick, a guy out of Canada that nobody really knew about. Like they really do ID well. And it's impressive. And maybe it's why AJ Preller is so willing to deplete the system because he feels like he can reload that thing real quick.
Yeah.
Termarr Johnson, another big name. I'm excited because I want to spend a little bit more time. There's a reason why I'm stacking the two guys that we're going to go longer on first, because I want to use this as an opportunity to unpack them as a prospect as well.
Yeah.
Termarr Johnson's just turned 19 years old, and the Pirates prospect just got bumped up to high A from low A, which I think should be great for his power output, but should be a challenge for his swing and miss. And this is where I want to kind of lead into it. Termarr Johnson's kind of been an interesting, like, I don't even know what the best word is to describe it, but it's been an interesting, like, thought exercise for me as a prospect, because a lot of what we heard and what, and you had to go off of what you kind of heard versus what you saw, because a lot of guys that have whiff concerns put up crazy numbers in high school. But everything that we heard from Termarr and even what you saw in batting practice and limited video or whatever was, oh, this guy's swing is so, and it is a majestic swing, but this guy's a 70 hit tool guy. Like, how many times did you hear 70 hit tool, Jack, when it came to Termarr Johnson? How many times did you just hear plus hitter, easy plus hitter, best pure hitter in the draft, best bat to ball guy we've seen in the draft in some time? Like, you heard all of that, right?
I guess I was going to say best pure hitter. Like, that was the buzzword that I was going to use. This guy's the best hitter in the draft class. Like, this guy's the best prep hitter in the draft class. This guy's as pure a hitter as you'll find in years, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that is usually indicative of plus hit. So, like, I saw a lot of 70 grades on the hit, right?
Yeah.
So that's just not the case. I think he'll be a better bat to ball guy as he develops. But the pure hitter was Jackson Holiday, who actually doesn't have as much power in the tank as some may thought. And then Termarr was getting like above average power grades at best. I mean, maybe you found a couple people that would give him a plus. I think he's got more than plus power potential. So that's why I think this is a really interesting development, is I think people, the preconceived notion of Termarr Johnson, like, he's a different profile, but just because he's a different profile doesn't mean he's not a really good prospect. And that was kind of the thing that was confusing for me at first, because it's like, oh, he's striking out way more than I thought, but okay, it was 18 in low A. I can pallet a 25% K rate. He's hitting the crap out of the ball in a graveyard of a league that is the Florida State League. And I'm sorry, but 112 mile per hour exit velocities from an 18, 19-year-old who still has room to get stronger. I know he's not the most projectable frame, has room to get stronger though. That's potentially plus power. So yeah, it was almost like we had it backwards with this guy. And I think there's some things he can do to tap into an above average hit tool, but this is power over hit. And I think the hit will come, and the approach is really good. He chases 17% of the time. I just think it was an interesting development here, right? Because we were kind of sold on hit over power.
Yes, I was assuming that he was not going to be a 15 homer guy as an 18-year-old in low A in 75 games, but that's exactly what he was. I think we were thinking this guy's 10 to 15 home runs could possibly elevate to 20, but he's going to give you a shot to hit 300 every year. That's just not what he's going to be. But he's going to be, I mean, this is like, every power hitting second baseman ever is Dan Uggla. Like, that's just how that works. Everybody is thrown into the Dan Uggla bucket. He's not Dan Uggla. He might punch out that much. I don't think he will.
No, he's got time.
What this guy seems like is very Brandon Lau. And that's an excellent, excellent thing to have with more juice, might I add. Brandon Lau has this innate ability to find the top of fences and hit it just about 5 to 10 feet over. Termarr has hit balls, 450 feet in that swamp ass air of the Florida State League.
Horrible air.
I mean, this guy has insane pop for an 18-year-old, 19-year-old. Now, might I say, I'm all the way out on Termarr Johnson because he's 2 for 21 to start his high A career. So
that's what I was going to get into next. That's what I was going to get into next.
Yeah, and like there are concerns there, but dude, just seeing video of Termarr Johnson, I'm like, this is the most athletically gifted short second baseman I've ever seen. Yeah. And that's a very small bucket. And Altuve is a short second baseman. Like Altuve is different, man. But Termarr, like that swing, I guess it has a bunch of moving parts, but it feels like the timing is always fucking impeccable.
Yeah. It's really impressive. And he generates so much whip and so much bat speed. And I think like this is a guy that he'll probably in the offseason, I bet he simplifies the moves a little bit, maybe quiets the barrel tip a little bit. And he's so quick from launch to contact that's why he's able to make such good decisions. He sees the ball for so long, he can let the ball travel deeper. But if he simplifies his moves a little bit, I don't think it's going to compromise power for him because he's going to simultaneously be getting more physical. And I think that's going to limit the whiff. So I think there's a world where he develops into an above average hitter. But even if he doesn't, I agree. I think the Brandon Lau comp is perfect because that's what he could very likely be. And he's a good athlete. He could play a good second base. And I already think the fact that he's not chasing at all, he reminds me so much of it's funny. Everyone loves Emmanuel Rodriguez, even though he got a slow start. Everyone freaked out. Him and Emmanuel Rodriguez are cut from the same cloth of rarely chase, hit the crap out of the ball. You got to pallet some whiff, but they're rarely going to miss one over the middle, and they get into their game power already. I think they're kind of in that same bucket, and people celebrate Emmanuel as one of the top young power hitting prospects in the game. Termarr's in the same boat while being younger, and being challenged now too. I think he'll be fine in high A, by the way, too. It's going to take some time because he's young and almost overly passive at times, similar to Emmanuel. He'll settle in.
I think so too. And we were talking to Jared Jones in Greensboro. He said he allowed a homer that was 87 off the bat. And I think we looked and you found like an 88, 89.
I think it was like 89 or
yeah. I mean, 89 leaving the ballpark should feel like 60 miles an hour off the bat leaving the ballpark. That's miserable.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing ever for pitchers. But for hitters, man, Termarr could be a 25 homer guy in Greensboro if he spent a full year there.
Yeah, I assume he's going to spend the whole majority of the year there next year. That guy's going to miss hit balls that get out of there. And it's just all about the contact. It'll come along. 75% zone contact. It's kind of dropped to 74 since he's been there. That's a little low, obviously, but I do think he'll shore that up. Yeah. Next guy, and we're going to. Do you want to stay hitters and then pitchers, or do you want to just kind of bounce around?
We can bounce around.
Okay. Let's go with somebody that I'm like so relieved that this guy got called up finally or promoted finally because it was just getting ridiculous. Drew Thorpe. And this is the irony of Drew Thorpe, the Yankees prospect, getting promoted now. He had gone through a stretch where I think we talked about it on here, where he had given up, I think, 2 runs or less, like over a span of like 6 starts. Here it is. Sorry. 8 starts. This was from June 6th or June 4th to July 22nd. 55 2/3 innings, 72 strikeouts, 4 earned runs. That's a 0.65 ERA, 36% K rate, 6% walk rate. For whatever reason, through that stretch, Drew Thorpe remained in high A. And then on the 29th, he goes 4 innings, 9 hits, 8 earned runs. So double the earned runs in 4 innings than in the previous 8 games. Yeah. And, runs into some trouble there. But what does he do? He bounces right back with Hudson Valley, 5 2/3 in his final high A start, 3 runs, 10 Ks, 1 walk. Long ball was kind of getting him a little bit over that rough stretch. He had given up 6 home runs over the span of 4 games and previously had given up 0 home runs over the stretch of 8 games. Thorpe, 2nd round pick, intriguing arm. I think fastball quality is going to be the question. And I think this is part of the reason why they may have delayed the promotion to Double-A is that fastball going to get shellacked because it's 92 mostly. the command of it's not as good as it should be, and it's just not the best shape. But he's got one of the best changeups in the minor leagues, a really good curveball that has developed well, and a solid slider and cutter, and just a slew of pitches that can kind of mask that fastball. But I was just surprised it took this long to get him to double.
It shouldn't have taken this long to get him to double. I have no idea why it didn't, because the Yankees were running out whoever the hell. Like, I mean, they just DFA'd Davy Garcia. Like, why couldn't we pump Drew Thorpe to double if we've got Davy Garcia just kind of sitting here in limbo? So, and I mean, like, dude, they were running out Johnny Brito. What other names am I missing?
The big league level?
Yeah, Vasquez.
Yeah, I mean, just recycle some names. Yeah. Obviously, Clark Schmidt, whatever. But AAA's rotation, like, there's room there. They could have bumped a guy up from double to triple. Yeah, like, so people were like hypothesizing that it was like, oh, to preserve his trade value if the Yankees were buyers, they don't want to get shelled in double. Like, that's not a thing.
No,
I don't think that's a thing.
So
I think he was working on fastball command, and you know what? Just work on it in double.
And he's got fastball command, man. Like, it's just really interesting to me how his junior year at Cal Poly looks identical to this year. Junior year at Cal Poly, he was 10-1 with a mid-2 ERA, 104 innings. He was striking out 12.5 per nine, walking 2 per nine. This year, his first year of professional baseball, he's 10-2 with a mid-2 ERA in 109 innings. He's striking out 11.5 per nine. He's walking 2.5 per nine. It's the same thing. Nobody does that. No one. No. But Drew Thorpe is doing that.
Yeah, and a big part is, like, literally, these are all the pitches that he mixes in. And this is over his last 8 starts, Jack. Fastball at 38%, changeup at 24%, curve at 15%, cutter at 12%, slider at 11%. And all of these pitches have been effective for him. His worst pitch is his fastball. So it's either finding the consistency with the rest of the pitches to where you can, like, continue to mask the fastball, or if he gets an uptick in velo, or improves the shape's kind of the problem too. Like, just a lot of zone not a lot of zone whiff there. I mean, it's game over. But I think for now, solid back end of the rotation starter. Double-A should be a good challenge for him, and I'm excited to see how he responds to that. That's definitely a fun promotion after just making a mockery of high A besides the one start.
You don't see very many prospects that have that many pitches that they turn to and a fastball usage under 40%.
Yeah.
The only other guy that I can think of off the dome is Priester. Like, Priester is the only guy that was, 5-6 pitch mix. Robert Gasser, if you view him as a top 100 guy, like, Gasser is kind of, working with different iterations of fastball, and those kind of all equate to about 40% usage. But I mean, Drew Thorpe is like, we want to call everybody an elevated Javier Assad.
Yeah.
That's what Drew Thorpe is.
He's the elevated Javier Assad. The changeup, though, is incredible. Last thing I'll say, 31% swinging strike rate on a changeup that you throw a quarter of the time.
I would so much rather have his bread and butter be a changeup than a slider or a curveball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that cutter, though, is good. The slider and curve are fine. Like, those are good pitches that he commands well, so he gets more out of them. He's a fun pitcher. He's satisfying to watch. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Opposite side of the coin in terms of type of pitcher. Griff McGarry from the Phillies gets the promotion to AAA. Stuff is unbelievable. Command is not great, but I think it was a good time to kind of get him to triple and challenge him. And I also think that there's a world where, he could come up and be some sort of a swingman, or even come out of the pen if the Phillies wanted to try that. I don't love doing that with prospects, but McGarry, given his command issues, like, it could make more sense as they make a push at the end of the year. And, Dombrowski's going to be cool with being all hands on deck. McGarry, the strikeout numbers are crazy. And he's been a guy that, that's never been an issue for him since he was drafted in the 5th round in 2021. I'll get into this stuff specifically, but when you have a guy with a 3.13 ERA in 3.13 ERA in Double-A, Jack, despite walking 6 per 9, that tells you just how nasty this stuff is. The biggest competition for Griff McGarry is Griff McGarry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Griff McGarry hit $160, or opponents hit $163. It is 54 2/3 innings. Like, nobody's going to touch him. And I think that speaks to your point even more so. Like, Griff McGarry is not going to get beaten. That's just how that works. And Griff McGarry's version of not getting beaten is the start that he put together in Altoona on July 21st. And I know that you cut this up and put it out. 7 innings of 3-hit shutout ball, struck out 10, didn't walk anybody. Next 2 starts, his following 2 starts after that, 5 innings, 4 walks, 4 innings, 5 walks.
Like, dude.
I want to point to the Altoona one and be like, just do that every time.
Yeah.
And you're
it's not that hard.
Painter.
It's
not that hard. Just go 7 shutty with 10 Ks and no walks. But man, I mean, like, such is the burden of Griff McGarry. His walk totals 6, 2, 0, 4, 5. That's all over the board.
Yeah. I mean, man, I would just, it's one of those guys where you're just like, he's top of the list. I know people ask, like, if you could give one pitcher, above average command or plus command, like, who would it be? Mizorowski's probably one. But there's a few others, maybe in
DL
that
Hall too.
DL Hall, who I just watched actually throw out of the pen for the second time this year in triple, looks really good yesterday. But McGarry, like, the whiff he gets on the fastball is insane. If he could, the fast, like, he has a whole arsenal that's really damn good. Like, the cutter has been gross for him this year. The curveball has been nasty. The slider is good when he throws it anywhere near the zone. But his fastball is so, like, has so much life from a low release point that he could throw that thing, which he already does, like 60% of the time. He could throw it 65 and have success. But the problem is, over the course of this year, Jack, and this is the thing, and it's not going to get any easier in AAA. So I hope they have better pitching coaches there, or he can work on some things in the offseason or whatever it may be. Non-fastballs, he is landing for a strike less than 50% of the time. Why would you swing at anything that's not a fastball then? Like, unless you just can't pick it up. Like,
no, it's clear the guys aren't.
Yeah. Fastballs, he's landing for a strike 65% of the time. Non-fastballs, 49. You just can't succeed that way. He scrapped the changeup because he couldn't throw it for a strike this year. And the slider is 40% strike rate. Like, you can't succeed like that. So stuff is unbelievable. If he can even have slightly below average command, I think he can be a big league starter. But a lot of reliever risk here.
Lots.
Yeah. Still fun, and I'm excited to see, what he's going to do in AAA. Brooks Lee, back to the position player side of things. Brooks Lee gets the promotion to AAA. It felt like, this was one that should have been coming for a little bit. Just a guy that didn't really need to prove much more in double. He's never going to go nuclear numbers wise, but he's just so consistent. And the Twins were thrilled to be able to get him in the draft when they did, a guy that we thought would go a lot earlier than he did. Brooks Lee gets the bump to triple, switch hitter, plus hitter. The power's, fringy, but he's just a well-rounded player with a good approach who doesn't strike out and puts the ball in play and has just enough power. So this is a guy that I think, you might need to adjust a little bit to AAA, as any hitter does, but I think he's going to adjust quicker than most.
I couldn't be more out on that. I couldn't disagree more. He's 2 for 18 in his first 4 games. He's so screwed, dude.
It's over.
It's over. He's cooked. I mean, his game lacks serious sex appeal.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he's got 11 homers. But man, like, he doesn't really swipe bags. He was 6 for 10 in the stolen base department. I thought bags was going to be a little bit more of a thing for him.
He's slower than I thought.
Yeah.
I saw him in pro ball.
But the thing is, he feels very Meyer. Is that fair? He feels very Marcelo Meyer with the Red Sox, where Meyer is just spread out across the board. And there's a chance that Meyer taps it away more because Meyer's younger.
Yeah, that's the thing is Meyer just has way more upside.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But Lee is cut from the cloth where, like, they don't do anything that makes you point at them and say alien life form.
Oh, yeah.
They just look like the best player on the field. Like, and they have that smooth ability in the middle infield, and they're going to hit 300 and they're going to poke some out a couple times. There's really, for me, and this is not a knock on Brooks Lee, like, there's really nothing for me that screams you're must watch every night.
Oh, no way.
But a lot of Major League Baseball players and a lot of really good ones are not must watch every night. But when I look at AAA shortstops in that league, I'd rather turn on the TV to watch Mason Wynn than Brooks Lee.
Oh, no doubt. But Lee's also one of those guys who you plug in every day. You don't have to worry about. He's going to do his job.
It's Steer. It's Spencer Steer, man. Like, it's a low heart rate guy. That's how I refer to it on the Just Baseball show.
100%. And, I think it's just becoming more clear that the ceiling is probably capped, but the floor is sky high on a Brooks Lee. Like, he's just such a high probability big leaguer. And he'll probably be up there by early next year.
Now, Lee is going to have to move a little bit because they have another guy on a rehab there
Yeah.
in Royce Lewis, who I think I saw went 440 feet yesterday.
Talk about sex appeal. Like when this
much.
guy's tore his ACL twice, like he's had all these injuries, like, and he still can hit the ball 114 miles an hour. He still motors. Like, I want that guy to stay healthy so bad because he could really be one of the most electrifying players in the game. So yeah, he crushed one the other day. The last thing I'll say on Lee, some like fun data points, like ton of contact, 88% zone contact. So as a switch hitter, that's really impressive. Walking at 10% clip, really solid. I think he could walk more. He could make better swing decisions. He's a little aggressive at times, and a lot of B swings that are a little too early where he just throws the hands out and shoots the ball the other way. But that's also what he's good at and what he does really well. So sneaky pull side power that I think can continue to develop a little bit. I love his swing from the left side. And that's a big thing for me. It's like, I think from the left side, he could be a much more exciting player. From the right side, it's kind of just like, it's better than left on left, I guess. But Lee could be a solid bat to ball, just enough juice. You put in the lineup every single day and feel good about it kind of guy. And every team will take that.
For sure.
Moving on to, you want to go to the lower levels? Let's go to the lower levels.
Let's do it.
Actually, no, one more AAA guy, and then we'll go to the lower levels. Hunter Goodman. Hunter Goodman gets the bump up to AAA, which is exciting. Rockies catcher / left fielder / first base. I'd say more first base / left field prospect, Hunter Goodman, who, I mean, you're going to put this guy in Albuquerque, man. He's going to start hitting some bombs. Like that, his first game at Round Rock. So for Albuquerque at Round Rock, he hit a home run. So this dude in the PCL, he might finish the year with like 35 homers. He might hit 9 to 10 over the next month. Goodman's not going to catch probably, but 107 mile per hour, 90th percentile. We saw him go nuclear at Hartford, which is not a very hitter friendly environment, or high A. And then, still put up some good power in Hartford. He's got 26 pumps on the year, and putting this guy in the PCL, he's going to hit a lot of home runs.
Yeah. Hunter Goodman, I'm trying to find, so let's see. He grounded into a double play at 107 yesterday. He grounded out at 104 yesterday. I'm trying to find his homer. He flat out at 95. I mean, he was hitting every single ball.
You know why you can't find the homer?
The grand slam was 93.
What the hell?
It was his fourth slowest batted ball that day. His 3 other batted balls were harder than his grand slam. Hunter Goodman is very, very impressive. And this is a guy that I think has flown under the radar at as good of an ability as anybody. Like, he has just flown under the radar more than absolutely anybody, because you mentioned he's a catcher with minimal staying power. He's a 4th round pick out of the American Athletic Conference in 2021. I mean, this guy, all he's done is hit the shit out of the ball, and he's in the Rockies system. Rockies prospects just don't get love.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's interesting because, well, first of all, I think that home run is the epitome of why I think he's going to go nuts there. He hit that ball at the end, and he's going to miss hit balls that leave the yard in the PCL. He's a dude that's hit balls as hard as 113 miles an hour. And again, 90th percentile of 107, that's plus power. So we're taking a guy with plus power who hits the ball in the air with the best of them, 34% ground ball rate. So plus power, consistent lift. That's why we saw Hunter Goodman, be among the league leaders in home runs last year when he hit 40, 37, 38?
36 and 106 driven in.
And he's got now 26 this year. This is a guy that's going to tap into his power in games. He's going to whiff. He doesn't walk as much as you'd like to see. Those are things that maybe could come. I think the approach has gotten a little bit better. But this is a guy that I think is really going to do well at Coors and is really going to put up crazy numbers in AAA. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rockies bring him up for a little like September call-up at the end of the year, because I do think this guy's going to go nuclear in the PCL. Like, he is built for the PCL as a guy who hits the ball hard, hits it in the air consistently. It's going to be fun for him out there.
Did you see him on the Cape in 19? He was.
I did, and I didn't see much. Like, it really wasn't. I didn't see this guy. That's
generic. It's just generic,
very
man.
Generic.
Yes, he had 8 pumps in 43 games, but like, guys can sell out for power and hit 8 homers in the Cape Cod League over the course of a season. Like, that's just how that league works. But Hunter Goodman, man, I mean, you really couldn't see this coming. His freshman year at Memphis, he had 13 pumps. Okay, that's Memphis. It's in the AAC, and no disrespect to the AAC, but like, it's just not the SEC. But the Rockies grabbed this guy in the 4th round after he had 21 homers in 56 games his junior year.
Yeah, because no one liked him as a catcher defensively, and there was hit tool concerns. Okay.
Think about who is top 5 in minor league baseball in homers right now. I think Goodman's there. I think Ivan Melendez is there.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, man. Like, if you fucking hit, you fucking hit in college baseball. And I think that the Rockies just took a guy that hit.
And it's funny, I like Goodman a lot more than Ivan Melendez. And it's funny how that works, and they took a guy that could hit, and I'll always take the guy that put up numbers and has a chance in the 4th and 5th rounds. And that's why I think the Rockies go pitching heavy early on, because they're getting better at identifying the guys that can take advantage of the environment. Like, that's a perfect profile. He might not be as good elsewhere, like he might not play as well, not at Altu, though I think his numbers at Hartford would, beg to differ. But CJ Cron types, like, identify those guys, they'll ball out for you in Colorado. And I think that's exactly what he'll do. Yep. To the mound again, Cade Horton. He was promoted a week ago. Cubs top pitching prospect. I think one of the best pitching prospects in baseball now at this point. You can make the case he's the best healthy pitching prospect in the game, other than Paul Skeens. And I think he's not far off from Paul Skeens personally. First start in Double-A, they've been managing his innings a little bit because this guy's barely pitched. I don't know if we've talked about that. Like, he threw 56 innings in college, and that was it. Like, that's his entire collegiate career, because he had Tommy John and, was a two-way player. So they're managing his innings. He's already well over the amount of innings he's thrown in like his entire life. And he looked so good in his Double-A debut. 4 innings. Again, they're going to keep him at like 50 to 60 pitches. 4 innings, 2 hits, no runs, no walks, 6 Ks. I mean, and what impressed me the most, and what continues to impress me about Cade Horton, is the fastball's sitting 96, 97. He's grabbing 8s. And even into the later parts of his short starts. But the slider's disgusting. He's now differentiated the curveball to where it looks like a completely different pitch, 2 different shapes. And he's really found this changeup, man. If this changeup develops, he went to a split grip, similar to what we talked about with Jackson Jobe, and it's been much more usable for him. If this changeup develops into an above average pitch, I think it's game over. I think Cade Horton's a frontline guy.
Yeah, no, what I love about Horton is he clearly is the athlete that he was in college. He was a 2-way guy last year. He wasn't a good one. He had a 630 OPS, and I'm sure that, he'll tell you that like he's not great offensively, but the fact that he was able to do both, I mean, we've talked about that. Casey Schmidt was a 2-way guy. Burleson was a 2-way guy. There are tons of other 2-way guys that just chose one. But Horton's a great example of a guy that like has the build to take on a heavy workload, but isn't doing it yet. It's going to be a frustrating final 2 months of the season for Cade Horton, because he's, going to taper off innings wise. Like, he's at 65 innings right now. He threw 53 2/3 in college last year, like you mentioned. Is he capped at 90, 85? Like, he may only have a couple more starts left this year.
Which stinks, because he's been so much fun to watch.
But with what you've seen so far this year, there's no doubt that this guy has frontline ability.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt about it. So we don't even know what the best final version of Cade Horton looks like. He's 21. He's about to turn 22. And as we've mentioned, he's barely pitched. Like, he's learning so quickly. And there's so many things, like the fact that he just all of a sudden differentiates his curveballs or his breaking balls. And now the curveball looks so different than the slider, and are 2 really solid pitches. Like, that happened overnight. It felt like the changeup being effective. That seemed to feel like it happened overnight. The fastball life, that just continuously improves. Last 10 starts before we move on to the next player. I'll give you opponent OPS by pitch. Fastball, 650. Slider, 302. Curveball, 260. Changeup, 570. Everything works. And a 69% strike rate overall.
Yeah.
That'll play. Very excited about Cade Horton. And I think Cubs fans will be excited about where he's at on the top 100 update.
For sure.
We should have grouped the Rockies guys together. I just realized Sterlin Thompson, he goes up to double in the Colorado Rockies system here. And this is a fun one too, because Thompson, he was putting up some crazy numbers in high A. And looks like a guy that another one of those hitter steals, I think, here for, I know it was 31st overall, so it's hard to call it a complete steal, but another opportunity here where the Rockies kind of said, defensive limitations, whatever. We'll take a guy that can just flat out hit. And that's exactly what he did in high A. 323, 399, 520 slash line, 16% K rate, 7 homers, and 14 bags. Now up to double as a 22-year-old. He's on a fast track here. The power is, average, maybe slightly above, but again, we know that's going to play at altitude. 85% zone contact is great. He's just a good hitter. I'm excited about, and another guy that hits the ball in the air a lot, 38% ground ball rate.
Where do you think he's going to play? Is he going to be a third baseman or an outfielder? Because he's played both.
Yeah, I got to see more defense at the hot corner. But I could see him starting to get more reps in the outfield. But he's got time. I could see him kind of being one of those guys that plays multiple spots and moves around a little bit and isn't really good at any of them, but is passable. But I got to watch more third base tape, honestly.
I'm looking at where he played at Florida. In 2021, every start he made came in right field.
Interesting.
In 2022, played 26 games at second, 44 games in right. And then he jumps into the Rockies system, and in the minor leagues, he's played third base 67 times. He's played right field 16 times. It's okay. You're a pro. You're a third baseman now. So I'm wondering where his position is, because he can play second base. He can play third base, and he can play a corner.
Yeah.
That versatility is amazing for a guy that's got a 900 OPS.
100%. I'm actually interested to see some more on the defense. He moves well. He's a good runner. It doesn't always mean great defense, but I'm with you. Like this could be a dynamic left-handed hitter that you can move all over the place and, has some sneaky wheels. So I'm excited to see Thompson, at the upper levels. Next guy for you. I know you got to be pumped about this one, and it's going to be a fun challenge for him in full season ball. Lazaro Montes, the Mariners prospect, gets the bump up to full season ball after hitting moon tanks in the rookie leagues and the rookie level. So far, Jack, he hat-tricked in his first game, but since then, 3 games, only 2 Ks. How excited are you to get now just somewhat grainy footage of Lazaro Montes?
I need moon landing type shit on Lazaro Montes. Like, I need this so bad, because this guy, I'm telling you, I saw one video, and I know that you spend a bit more time with complex footage than I do, but my complex takeaways are the side view that I got of Max Clark's multi-hit day yesterday, and Lazaro Montes. I got the camera angle flanked to the left of the catcher's mat, or of the catcher's mitt, and it's Montes hitting a ball 118 pull side, and I was just like, okay, I saw it. I'm in love. He might be Bonds, and I'm talking 2001 to 2004 Bonds.
He's a monster. He's a monster human.
It's crazy. So I'm really excited for this. The Mariners are doing this really well. They bumped another guy, not Gabby Gonzalez from the complex. There was another guy that immediately got off the complex. I'll find it here.
Was it Michael Arroyo?
Could have been. I'll tell you in a minute. But Montes, they're pushing him. And if you fill the data points, I'll have that answer for you.
Yeah. So, Lazaro Montes, it's going to be the whiff. That's the question. But I think he's gotten better in that regard. You look over the last handful of games. I talked about the hat trick in your first high A game, or low A game. That's understandable. If he's just a big dude at 6'4", 225 pounds, long levers, a lot of body to control. He's 18. He can learn to do that. And if he does, it's going to be scary, because he's got a potentially 80 grade power. So this is a fun guy to see what he can do in that Mariner system, and finally getting some low A challenge.
Yes, it's Michael Arroyo. The fact that they're willing to push Arroyo and Montes off the complex is very encouraging. And hey, don't look now, but the Seattle Mariners, who had the best system in baseball by a wide margin in 21, are restocking, and this is a top 10 system in 24.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. It looks really bad, and all of a sudden there's just quickly another org that can just restock pretty darn well. We'll move on to, hold on, where are the notes here? Where'd we go? Okay, here we go. Lower level guy again, Sal Stewart, guy that we've talked about on here, a guy I really like. This is the last relevant promotion I think we're going to hit on here. Stewart, Cincinnati Reds guy. I loved him out of the draft. We highlighted him in the Reds episode. It's just a guy whose swing I'm just bought in on. I think he's got an ability to tap into way more power down the line as he just continues to get more physical. South Florida kid that, again, all the video I was able to see from high school, from showcases, from whatever, it was the swing alone that stood out to me. And then the physical projection. Patient hitter that is already walking more than he strikes out. High A will definitely be a challenge for a high school guy. But I think he's going to respond to it well because of the approach, because of the sneaky feel to hit, and the power that's developing. I think Sal Stewart's going to be a big helium guy, and the fine defender at third as well. I think this is somebody that a lot of people are going to start to warm up to, and I thought the Reds did a good job snagging him in the compensation round as well. That was in 2021?
22, I thought.
22,
Wasn't
22.
it last year? Yeah, it was 22.
Yeah.
Do you know what Sal Stewart did his first game in Dayton?
No.
1 for 3 with a pair of walks.
Love it.
Sure, man.
He's walked, by the way, real quick, 2 walks in 3 of his last 4 games.
Got a 17% walk rate. You mentioned he's walking more than he's punching out, a 15% K rate. So yes, like while the slug numbers are not necessarily there, that's still resulting in a 129 WRC plus. Because like if you get on base at a 390 clip, you're going to help your team. And I think that if you see this from this guy as he continues to ascend, if he spends the rest of the year in Dayton, starts next year in Dayton, and he's still putting up a 15% walk rate, I think you can just chalk him up as a guy that's going to be patient at every level.
Yep.
It might have been laying off bad pitching, but this is your chance to prove that he's just a really good patient hitter.
No doubt. 19 years old too. And 6'3", 215, he's going to get stronger. So I'm excited about this guy. I think you hit the nail on the head. Real quick to wrap up, you want to talk about the draft guys and what they did.
I want to talk about Dylan Cruz, back-to-back games with a pump, dude. That he looks insane. I mean, I'm not saying like you should have buyer's remorse because I'm sure Skeens is going to be awesome.
He's going to come out and strike everybody out too. And then he's going to be like, but yes.
Yeah. We're having a lot of conversations, you and I, about where Dylan Cruz lies in the top 10. And the answer is closer to 3 than it is to 10. Yes. And he's bolstering his case day by day. Cruz has been so fun to monitor in Fredericksburg.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be there very long, huh?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he's going to be in the fucking minor leagues very long.
It's funny. The only concern, and it's such a nitpick specific thing, is hard sliders specifically. Like I went back because I'm trying to figure out how high I want to push this dude in the top 100. I went back and watched all of his most challenging matchups from the year. Hard sliders were the one thing that at times he'd expand. But then I watched almost every single one of his strikeouts. And dude, I would say like 25% of them, especially the ones looking, were pitches that were like multiple balls off, or strike 2 was multiple balls off. Then he had to expand to try to protect on a hard slider against like these guys in the SEC now. They throw 98, 99, 100, and you're giving them a couple balls off. Like it's a nightmare. He didn't strike out much at all, but it was interesting. Like that was what came up in the data. And then I went back and watched it. And I'm like, dude, some of these calls are horrible. So it's funny that first home run, by the way, or I think it was the first home run, came on a curveball, a slow one that was 2 balls below the zone where it would have been tracked. And he hit it 105 out to dead center. This guy's a freak. I think his approach is way too advanced in terms of he's going to be able to I think, overpower these guys and just outsmart them. It's going to be too easy for him. I'd almost wish they started him in high A and gave him a shot at double by the end of the year. It seems like instead they're going to start him in low A, give him a look in high A. That's fine. I just want to point out some EVs. 107 mile an hour fly out, 108 mile an hour ground out, 106 mile an hour grand slam. I said 105, it was 106. He's hitting the ball hard with wood, man. I know people were wondering how much power is there. There's
A lot.
comfortably above average power that he's going to hit enough to where it probably plays his plus.
I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say a name, and you're gonna be thrown. But that breaking ball that was below the zone, watching that swing, that short swing, getting to a pitch that low and driving it dead center. Did you not see? Did you not see a little Trout there?
Yeah, I knew you were going to say like Trout. No, like of course, like there's some similarities there. And I mean, Cruz is a special talent. So no doubt about it. I want to talk about Max Clark because I feel like we've been incredibly harsh just because we would have preferred to take Wyatt Langford. That doesn't mean Max Clark is not a good baseball player. He's indeed a very, very good baseball player. You talked about the open side looks that we've been able to get from the complex. I think Prospects Live put out a pretty good video of Max Clark. His back hit moves are elite. He is a freak athlete. Watching the way that he moves in the box is really impressive. This is a guy that's going to maximize every inch of his frame. That home run, by the way, 105 off the bat from Max Clark. That's a bomb for him because he's going to get stronger. He's got the ability to smack it on the ground and beat it out. We saw that as well. And we also saw him overheat. The Midwest kids, big adjustment to South Florida, man. It's hot. Get used to it. That's what we used to have to play in summer ball. So it was rough. I get it, Max. It's not like Indiana right now in Florida. But no, that swing really impressed me. He's just so quick to the ball. He screams a guy that's just going to spray line drives, sneaky surprise you with some pull side juice, and just be a phenomenal athlete. But I'd say the number one thing that's already stood out to me at the complex is where I should say that's where he's playing is the hip mobility and the back hip moves in the box. Special stuff. He could be really good. Yeah. We'll see how he handles more challenging competition.
He screams like a crazy athlete. And we know how good of care he takes of his body. Like that guy is committed to keeping his body in tip-top shape. So yeah, I know that could have been a dig at Indiana man sitting right here, but it's a different level of heat, man. Like, I mean, it's tough. And even when I was down in Fort Lauderdale, I was like, this is hot and humid.
And that wasn't the peak, man. Imagine standing in the field. I think about the catchers all the time.
Dude.
Yeah, I was I think about that all the time, man. I'm like, God, they got to be going through it.
Two other guys that I want to point out here.
Yeah.
Wyatt, Langford, Hurston.
I have Langford queued up. Let's start with him.
Cool.
He got the high A assignment. It's funny that it's organizational philosophy. And they wanted to be more aggressive with him. Langford, he's responded to the challenge, dude. He looks really solid. He's hitting the ball hard. There's been a little bit of whiff in the zone, but I think it's just kind of him getting acclimated to high A baseball and fastballs with way more carry than anything he saw probably in college. Langford looks really good, and he's handling that assignment well, and he's walking, and he's hitting the ball very hard.
He's a big, strong boy, Wyatt Langford. It's 11 hits in his first 8 professional games. He had 3 at the complex, and so far 5 in high A, and he's got 7 extra base hits. He's got 3 bags and 11 hits in 8 games.
He's so fast. It's so sneaky fast. It's crazy.
Yeah, which is nuts. And like, if there's a teensy bit of whiff there, that's okay. He's a big, strong man that's fast as hell.
And patient. And then that's what we've seen. He's patient. He already popped to 110. So
cool.
110 mile an hour double.
Yeah. I love that. Last guy for me is Waldrep.
Yeah.
Hurston Waldrep, 3 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, struck out 8 and walked 1. So 8 of his 9 outs came via strikeout. That was his only appearance in low A. He's now to high A.
What do you want to know? If this guy, I would say, what do you want to know? I have it queued up right now, like data wise. What do you want to know?
I want to know strike rate on the off speed, and I want to know spin and IVB on the fastball.
Okay, well, that was way harder than I wasn't ready for that. But okay. I'll tell you strike rate on the fastball. Is that what you asked for?
Strike rate on the off speed.
On the off speed, the slider he pounded the zone with 11 strikes on 14 pitches. Splitter, 9 of his 16 were strikes, and then the fastball, 12 of his 19 were strikes.
That's very good.
Yeah, you'll take that. The slider being there is really remarkable because that was my concern with him. I would when I was watching the college starts, I just didn't love the slider. If it's playing like that, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Also velocity. I thought you'd want to know velocity.
Yeah, I would love to know velocity.
He topped at 98.
Cool. And I think it's high spin shit.
Yeah, I'm pulling that up real quick. What I also want to talk about lastly as I pull up Waldrep. How about Walker Jenkins?
Walker Jenkins has been awesome. Walker Jenkins.
I love him. Like I can't emphasize enough. I haven't been doing it this long, so it's kind of like eyewash to say, but this is one of my favorite high school guys I've seen. I'm not saying that he's going to be better than Jackson Holiday, but just at the time of the draft, like there's few guys that I've looked at and I've just been like, for a high school guy, that plays already. Like that, that is exactly what I saw. And just the approach, the feel to hit, it looks so much like Manzardo, but with more power potential. He's a better athlete. I'm a huge fan. IVB numbers not as great as you'd think, by the way.
Okay. Interesting.
But interesting profile. Like not much horizontal and like pretty straight on. So it probably plays like it has more IVB.
Yeah, as long as it's an outlier, we're good.
It's definitely weird. It's definitely a weird pitch. So yeah. I'll send you some video. This is fun. Cool. I'll send that to you later. But I'm excited. You're higher on Waldrep than I am, and like I'm starting to buy in slowly. I am. You know why? Buying slowly.
You know why I'm high on him? Like I don't necessarily think he's got like, oh yeah, he's going to be the 2 for the Atlanta Braves moving forward. Like they don't need to re-sign Freed because they have Hurston Waldrep. I'm bought in because I think that guy can be working out of the pen this year for a World Series.
With that splitter, I probably.
Yeah, and if he's landing that slider, I mean, topping at 98, landing the slider, and he's got that splitter, and he cuts spin on that splitter so well. I mean, dude, like he can be a 6th inning guy if shit hits the fan in the World Series this year.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. I hope they fast track him a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how they do that. And last but not least, Walker Jenkins. He had a grand slam.
Mm-hmm.
He had a grand slam. That's pretty electric.
Here's what I got for you. 4 games. He's got 7 hits. He's 7 for 16 with 2 doubles, a grand slam. He's 3 for 4 in the stolen base department. 17 plate appearances. He's walked once. He's punched out twice.
That's very fun.
Yes.
I'm very in. I'm excited to get more looks at him as well. He's going to be very, very good. 18 years old, 6'3", 210 can motor.
Yep.
All right, that'll do it. We got a lot of stuff coming up here too. Top 100 is we're in the final stretch here, Jack, of the top 100. I hammered out a lot more yesterday. We're almost there. We're not going to do the whole top 100 list like we normally do since it's an update, but we're going to break down a lot of it through the episodes next week. So that should be really fun. It'll be multi-part again. We'll talk about the biggest climbers. We'll talk about the newcomers and, kind of break it down in a unique way. We're still figuring that out. If you have any comments or ideas of ways that you want us to break it down, we're all ears and we can do, we can get creative with that, but definitely keep an eye out for that at justbaseball.com, either at the end of this week or early next week. Any final thoughts, Jack?
I don't think so, man. I love these kind of episodes because it's all good news.
Yeah, I love the good news, man. Next episode, we'll be talking about struggling prospects and what's wrong. No,
good.
We probably have to do that at some point, but no, it was fun just being positive, talking about the new guys and talking about guys getting promoted. Also, shout out to my good friend, Griff Conine, promoted to AAA, talking about promotions, promoted to AAA, 2 hits in his first game. Really pumped for him over there in the Marlins org. Hopefully he keeps rolling. We'll definitely have him on in the offseason to talk about the tact baseball and just the season as a whole and hitting philosophy, because he's one of my favorite guys to talk, hitting to and talk hitting with.
Yes.
So that'll do it. We'll talk to you about prospects either tomorrow or the day after that.